Okay, so before I begin, I want you to get ready to click that like button as soon as you hear something that you relate to. So do you ever lay in bed at night and you can't seem to fall asleep? Do you find that your mind is racing about things like work problems or a conflict with boss or a colleague or a project? Or maybe you're in school and you're thinking about a test or a project coming up, or maybe you had a conflict or argument with a spouse or family member, or maybe you just find yourself restless in general. If that's the case, again, smash that like button, and I want you to stay tuned because in this video, I'm gonna talk about some common issues with falling asleep, as well as some tips and tricks in order to get you to sleep quickly. Hi, my name is Travis Goodman, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. And today, in this video, I'm gonna go over some common issues with people falling asleep, as well as some tips and tricks that I find and often prescribe to my clients in order to help them fall asleep. So as a therapist, one of the common things that I hear time and time again is people struggling with falling asleep. So when I'm first doing an assessment with someone, I first want to go over when was the last time they had a checkup by a medical doctor, because some of the common issues with falling asleep are related to physical or medical problems that have not been assessed. And for a lot of us I know that come in, they haven't seen the doctor in well over a year. So one of the first things I do is I encourage that individual to go make an appointment with their primary care doctor and to rule out any medical or physical conditions. And once I know that that whole medical and physical side's been taken care of, I can then really help that individual understand and figure out and hone in on what are the possible causes. So in this video today, I'm gonna be focusing on kind of two issues, and one is environmental and situational, and second is maybe something a little more deeper, what I call the psychiatric issues. When I look at that kind of environmental and situational changes, I often inquire with the individual, is there any significant changes that have happened? Has anything changed in your family dynamic, or at work, or at school? And often I'll get some type of response that something happened, some stressful event happened, or a relationship ended, or they had a conflict with their boss, or there's something major that they forgot to do at school or at work, and now they're stressed about it and they can't seem to fall asleep because they're thinking about that problem or that error they made. And so these things are quite common and can cause that kind of issue and difficulty with falling asleep. And then for some other people, there's something a little deeper than just that kind of situational, environmental issue and difficulty with falling asleep, where it's a little more pervasive and it's more consistent over time, where they find that more often than not, they struggle with falling asleep and find themselves overly anxious, overly worried. That person could be struggling with something like an anxiety or depressive disorder, because in those disorders, often worry and anxiety and sleep issues tend to be included within those disorders. And be sure to stay to the end, because I'm gonna link to that video you're gonna wanna watch to better understand an anxiety disorder. So the first thing I do is, once I rule out any medical conditions, any physiological problems, any physical problems, any environmental or mental health problems, I then start to go into treatment. So this is the part where we start to really kind of get into the nitty gritty. And so the first thing is, what is your current sleep hygiene pattern? So just pause for a moment. I want you to think, what do you do before you go to bed? What is your routine? Do you sit there and stay on Netflix and YouTube till wee hours of the night and just kind of wait to pass out? Are you having a cup of coffee before bed? Are you taking a shower, brushing your teeth, talking to your spouse or partner? Do you read a book? Just think about that, because our sleep hygiene routine actually makes a difference. And I want you to ask yourself, do you do something consistently most nights, or is it kind of sporadic? And I want to say that it does make a difference. It makes a difference if we have a consistent, regular sleep routine hygiene pattern. So for those of you that have kids, think about how you teach your kids. You tend to do the same thing every single night, or at least most nights, except for those one-off nights. Those parents that know this, when you have those one-off nights, sometimes it doesn't always go so well because you tend to feel it the next 2, 3, 4 days after. But for the most part, as a parent, when you're teaching a child, you tend to stay in a routine and a pattern, because you know, as you start to go through that night's routine, you see your child get sleepier and sleepier and sleepier. We are the same way. We're adults. We're no different than children. I mean, really, we kind of aren't, but we have and are needing of a sleep pattern. So we either have a good one or a not so good one. So here are some things I tend to prescribe to those that are starting out, that are having trouble sleeping. So number one, pick a time you want to fall asleep at night. So for this example, let's say you want to be in bed no later than 10 o'clock at night. So number two, my recommendation is turning off all electronics at least 1 hour before 10 o'clock. So by 9 p.m. at night, you're turning off your iPhone, YouTube, Netflix, Amazon Prime, TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is that you kind of fill your mind with. Turn that off. Get that screen off and allow your brain to begin to create melatonin. And number 3, I encourage you to get something to write in, whether it's a nice leather-bound journal or something cheap that you can get at Amazon delivered to your door tomorrow. Doesn't matter, but get something to write in. For those of us that tend to have a lot of worries in our mind or are thinking about, again, those tests or things at work, what I want you to do is I want you to set a 5-minute timer. And then I want you just to write everything down that's on your mind and keep writing until that timer's off. Once the timer goes off, close the book and put it on the shelf. Number 4, if your mind is still racing and that's not enough, the next thing I would encourage you to do is doing some deep breathing techniques. And I'm gonna link a card here in the video that I kind of go over a technique called box breathing, but I'll go over it quite quickly for you. Essentially, it's 4-4-8 or 4-7-8 or 4-4-4 breathing, whatever works for you. But essentially what it is you inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4. Or if it's 4-7-8, same thing. Inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale to 8. It doesn't really matter, but find a rhythm that works for you and you just repeat that at least 5 to 10 times. Because what you're doing there is you're helping calm your nervous system down, you're focusing on your breath, you're getting out of your head and into your body, and you're calming your amygdala down, which is kind of gonna bring this calming effect for you. So number 5, this next one is P.M.R, or progressive muscle relaxation. And this is similar to the box breathing technique, but what we're doing now is we're tightening muscles for 5 seconds, and then we're exhaling for 5 seconds and releasing that tension. And so what you'll do is you'll close your eyes and you're gonna start with just your face and your jaw, and you're gonna tighten everything for 5 seconds, and then you exhale and relax all the muscles in your face and your jaw and your eyes, everything just relax. And then you're gonna go to your shoulders, tighten for 5, and then you're gonna relax for 5. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna go down from head all the way down to your toes. Kind of think head, shoulders, arms, fists, thighs, glutes, calves, toes. You're gonna go all the way down and relax your body. And the benefit here is we're releasing tension in our body, because whether you know it or not, we tend to carry our stress, our worries, our anxieties in these different muscle groups and we don't even know they're tight until we do this. In fact, comment below when you do P.M.R, what area of your body you realize was most tense and tight. Number 6, another tip I've used with people is something I came up with called S.S.T. So that's sensory, sound, thought. And so for this one, we're gonna use a breathing technique again and just be on your back in bed. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna close your eyes, and as you breathe in for 4, I want you to focus on some sensation in your body, some sensory. So for example, start with your right foot in your bed and just kind of notice what your toes feel like under the covers as you breathe in. And then as you breathe out, just continue noticing that, letting it go. And then on the next in-breath, I now want you to think of a sound you're hearing. So maybe it's the sound of the window open, or maybe your fan, or maybe something else. And as you breathe in, just pay attention to the sound, whatever that might be. And as you exhale, just kind of let that sound go. And then T is thought. So on the next in-breath, the first thought that pops in your head, just focus on it for that in-breath. And just hold that thought there. And as you exhale, just kind of let that thought go. And on the next in-breath, go back to the sensory sensation again. So 5 to 10 times, just keep repeating this. So at this point, if you've been in bed for 20 minutes and you still can't fall asleep, get up. Do not stay in bed any longer than 20 minutes, because what's happening is you're actually training your brain to not sleep. And so you want your brain to know that when you lay down, you go to bed, you fall asleep, you don't stay awake. And so if you're in there again for 20 minutes, get up and leave. Go to another part of the house, leave your room, go to the living room, go to the couch, go to the chair. And 2 things I'd recommend doing is read a calming book or a magazine, listen to calming music. And if you really want, a 3rd thing is you could just kind of start writing your thoughts again. Maybe journal for the day, something good, something difficult. And then when you start to feel sleepy again, go back to bed again and start over. So these are just some of the helpful tips that I give a lot of my clients that come in to see me when they say they're struggling with sleep. I hope that some of these have worked for you. Please go try them out and comment below what worked. Was it progressive muscle relaxation or P.M.R? Was it the box breathing? Was it writing? And for those that might be struggling with falling asleep more consistently and pervasively, click on this next video where I kind of talk about the difference between normal anxiety and anxiety disorder. And until next time, have a great day.